Yeah. Good afternoon. We're getting
Members
ready
of the
to start
council,
the
if you can
meeting.
please have your seat, we're going to start the meeting. We're now 3:36, and we're scheduled for 3:30. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon and welcome to the special concurrent meeting of the Oakland Redevelopment Successor Agency and City Council of Thursday, January 9th. If you would like to speak on any agenda item, please fill out a speaker's card or return that card to a clerk representative before the item is called or before the time cutoff, which is an hour and a half after the start of this meeting, which will put that time at 5:09, I believe. And if you were looking to submit a speaker's card online, they were due 24 hours from the start of this meeting. On roll, we have Councilmember Brown.
Present.
Councilmember Fife.
Present.
Councilmember Houston.
Present.
Councilmember Kaplan.
Present.
Councilmember Ramachandran.
Present.
Councilmember Unger.
Present.
And Pro Tem Cobb, I'm sorry, Pro Tem Gallo,
Present.
showing 7 members present at this time.
Madam City Attorney, there's a request to move item S9 to the beginning of the agenda.
Chair, that,
Yes.
Okay.
yeah.
Starting with item 9, as we are taking these items out of order. Item 9, which is adopt a resolution pursuant to Rule 4 of the Council's Rules of Procedure to confirm the Council President's appointments of the council members and chairpersons of Finance and Management, Public Works and Transportation, Community and Economic Development, Life Enrichment, Public Safety, Rules and Legislation, Education Partnership, and the City Port Liaison Committee, and I have one speaker.
Thank you, members of the public. There was a handout presented to you in terms of the recommended committees, the membership for those committees for the coming year. And this was information that I received from the majority of my council colleagues in terms of their request. And when you look at the agenda, assigned to me 4 committees: Houston 4, Unger 4, Kaplan 4, Brown 4, Ramachandran 4, and 5 committees. And but anyways, take a look at it and you'll see those that are being recommended. And again, I've checked in with my colleagues, and Kevin, the current mayor, did have his input on this as well. And so with that, Madam Clerk, I'd like to get the feedback from my council members and then need a motion to approve.
Through the chair, before you begin discussion, it would be helpful. I know there's people who don't have the handout watching elsewhere. If you can read your recommendation so
Yes,
everyone is aware of what it says.
yes.
Thank you.
Would you like to read those, or you want me to do it?
If you'd like me to read them for you, I can read them.
Yes, go ahead and read them for the record.
So going with Pro Tem Gallo's committee assignment recommendations. For Finance and Management, we have the chair would be Councilmember Ramachandran. Committee members would be Council Members Fife, Gallo, and Kaplan. For the Public Works and Transportation Committee, we have the chair requested as Councilmember Unger. Committee members, Council Members Houston, Kaplan, and Gallo. For the CED Committee, chair recommendation is Councilmember Fife. Committee members would be Council Members Ramachandran, Gallo, and Unger. For the Life Enrichment Committee, chair, Councilmember Brown. Committee members, Council Members Houston, Unger, and Fife. For the Public Safety Committee, chair recommendation, Councilmember Kaplan. Committee members would be Council Members Fife, Brown, and Houston. For the Rules and Legislation Committee, chair would be Pro Tem Gallo. Committee members would be Council Members Ramachandran, Fife, and Unger. For the Education Partnership Committee, the chair would be Councilmember Brown. Committee members, Council Members Unger, Kaplan, and Ramachandran. For the City Port Liaison Committee, the chair would be Councilmember Kaplan. Committee members would be Council Members Fife, Houston, and Brown.
Members of the council, if there's a motion and a second to approve, or any comments, and then we'll hear from you said there's a public comment on this item? Okay, so any from the council members? There are no comments at this point, and so let me hear from the public.
We have one speaker for item S9, Ms. Asada Olabala.
I think you already answered one of my questions, and that was the confirmation from each council member that they have satisfaction with taking these positions. Is that correct?
4 or 5 listings from the different members in terms of priorities that they would like to be on or represented.
That's good.
And
So-
this is where I write my list.
Right.
Yeah.
So as long as we have a commitment from everybody saying where I am, I think I can do the work here. My concern is, and I just did a quick look, it would not be a good idea to have somebody on the Finance Committee and then on the Safety Committee, because that's 9 o'clock or 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning, and that the other one is at 6 o'clock. That's a big gap between where you have to be. So that's one concern. The other concern is there the possibility of having alternates? Because so many meetings were canceled because of a lack of a quorum. Is there the legal potential from city attorney to have alternates available, understanding they could step in if necessary? The other thing is, I hope that people have understood that when you do this committee meeting, that you have to read the agenda and the report before the meeting. And be prepared to participate based on you've done your homework. Now look, I'm not stupid. I can tell when y'all sitting there and you haven't read the reports. I can tell by the questions. And in some cases, the questions could be submitted before you have the meeting to make sure these meetings don't go long and overdrawn. And lastly, we have to work hard if we want a viable education partnership. And whoever's taking that leadership, Ms. Brown, would you delve into this year making sure it's okay?
Thank you, Ms. Olabala. Mr. Pro Tem, that was the only speaker.
Yes, thank you. And again, thank you for the public's comments. And we are going to take a look at the scheduling of the items to make sure that, you know, if we need to move public safety to an earlier time, a different day, then we'll do that. But secondly, the other one that I want to consider is when we have our committee meetings, we'll have it down in the committee rooms down below, like we used to have, down on the first floor, easy access to the public, and they'll be televised, there'll be information, and so we'll be operating our committee meetings. And secondly, for the public, we will have a special session for these council members to clearly understand the rules and procedures of a committee and the importance of a committee. The importance of a committee is take that, for example, under Public Works, take the issue, study it in depth. If you needed more information, check in with the administrator of Public Works. But at the same time, make sure that the chairperson of that committee, I don't want the item to go to the city council and we spend 2-3 hours doing amendments and more discussion with people that weren't even part of that committee. So we need to respect the committee members and the committee chairperson as a group, but we'll go through council members directly to clearly get those directions so we're in unison in terms of how do we function in a committee, how do we bring the items forth, but at the same time at the council meeting, what is our rules and procedures for moving forward, and then at the same time, I don't have the authority to supervise, direct an administrator, but I can ask questions to get information on an item, but we as a council will go through that so we're all clear, that we all understand what the rules and procedures, And at the same time, if we need to correct or discipline each other, we'll do it as a group, not waiting for someone else to do it, but we'll make sure that we're in unison as a team, following the same rules and procedures to make sure that the city council moves forward with providing the services that we were elected to do for the city. So in saying that, let's get back to you have the report in front of you. And are there any questions? I will need a motion in a second to move this forward or answer any questions. Yes.
I just wanted to state for the public that in my attempts to recognize and abide by the Ralph M. Brown Act, I have not spoken with the city council members, including the pro tem. I just wanted to make that clear for the public. I've talked to 2 city council members and not the interim mayor about this assignment, and I'm just saying it for the first time, and I do appreciate the fact that people tried to incorporate my concerns from Monday into what I think that's what happened. But I do see that I will probably be here with this list from 9 a.m. to probably 9 p.m., and that's a little. Okay, that's all. I'm complete.
Yeah, we're not going to do, no, I agree with you. We're not going to be meeting here from 6 to 9 p.m., no. Not in committee, no. I need my employees to be here earlier so they can go home and get to work the next day. Yep. Yep.
Thank you so much, and thank you for your diligence and your work. And I want to acknowledge what Councilmember Fife said, which is, of course, not everybody had the opportunity to speak with everybody one-on-one. And of course, the comments that were made at the last council meeting, where council members shared what they wanted, including that's where, Councilmember Fife shared about wanting to be chair of Life Enrichment, for example, as well as shared her other desires, and we heard some comments from some other people. And so based on what was shared, if we could take one and pass it along, please. I prepared a handout based on the comments of my colleagues at those meetings, as well as taking into account, of course, what President Pro Tem Gallo had previously handed out in order to seek to revise it, to seek to maximize the level of each person having their most requested items. And so what this list entails is for the Rules Committee, chaired by Gallo, joined by Ramachandran, Fife, and Brown. For Finance, chaired by Ramachandran, joined by Kaplan, Unger, and Fife. For Public Works and Transportation, chaired by Unger, joined by Gallo, Houston, and Kaplan. For Community and Economic Development, chaired by Brown, joined by Unger, Fife, and Ramachandran. For Life Enrichment, chaired by Carol Fife, joined by Houston, Unger, and Brown. For Public Safety, chaired by Gallo, joined by Fife, Ramachandran, and Houston. For Education Partnership, chaired by Brown, joined by Houston, Gallo, and Ramachandran. For City Port Liaison Committee, chaired by Kaplan, joined by Houston, Ramachandran, and Fife. And one other comment I would make about this, of course, is that there were 2 options for how to make committees now that we have only 7 sitting council members. One option would be to assign vacant slots for our council colleague who is acting mayor and hold committees with only 3 members.
Yeah. And that's what we did. Okay, Director Kaplan. No, I met with Kevin a number of times. I got the listing what you and Fife and Brown gave me through Unger. I took a look at the Ramachanda. She gave me 3-4 different versions of what she wanted to do. And so I try to accommodate and meet everybody's goals here that's presented here. But at the end of the day, on the last round, I did go upstairs to Kevin for him to review, Because some of the committees that I'm on, when he gets back in April, he'll take my spot to serve on those committees.
Thank you. So this option, actually both options, but these options do not retain vacant slots for the acting mayor, but rather the committee assignments would need to be reformulated once he comes back to council. And of course, at that time, there will also be a new District 2 council member. And so at that time, there would be the option to reshuffle them as well, because the committees are, of course, assigned by public vote, and there would at that time be both the rejoining council member as well as the new council member would be joining. So there would be an opportunity at that time to make changes. Both versions fully assign all the slots. And so the version that I handed out is based on the feedback that we heard at the meeting, starting, of course, with what Mr. President Pro Tem handed out, and then revised based on the comments that people made at the meeting.
I make a motion to vote on Council President Gallo's proposed committee assignments. I know he's taken great pains to fit as many interests as possible, and the alternative list is significantly different. So I make the motion.
I'll second that.
Then, to the chair, I will make a substitute motion to support Councilmember Kaplan's revised committee list.
Second.
Okay, so that is a motion to have for the council-directed list as provided in the charter. Thank you.
We have a substitute.
Yes, Mr. Houston.
So we were talking, people was walking behind us, and I couldn't hear what was going on right there. I didn't hear what happened. What was the last thing that happened? I didn't hear it. Somebody's right behind me talking.
So there was a motion to accept the recommendations that I put forth.
Of yours.
And I second that.
Okay, of
And
yours.
then they made a motion to accept Rebecca Kaplan's recommendations that's on this list here now.
Okay, yeah, I'm good with that.
On the substitute motion moved by Councilmember Brown, seconded by Councilmember Gallo. I'm sorry, Councilmember Fife.
May I ask a question?
Aye.
I think Brown.
Can we ask a procedural question?
I'm sorry?
So we vote on the substitute motion first.
Correct.
So this new version clearly didn't talk to other returning council members, myself included. I am not available at some of the times this proposed committee is on, and if we're trying to make quorum, I'm not going to be available for some of my committees. Furthermore, I'm on 6 committees here. I do not have the capacity to take on 6 committees when others are only on 3 to 4. So I firmly reject this list, and if this moves forward, we're going to have issues with quorum in all of our meetings. If this body wants to present alternatives that take into consideration all of the interests of council members, specifically with the interest of trying to make quorum for meeting, which is one of the most significant problems we've had in the past, I suggest pausing on this vote and reevaluating people's preferences. I believe the council president took great pains to get everyone's preferences in mind. Well, we can't always get everything I want, but it is drastically unfair to put one council member on 6 committees, including one she has clearly stated she does not have the availability for.
And just for the record, the one I'm presenting, everybody's on 4 committees, with the exception of Carol Fife. She's on 5 because she had made a request to be on a certain committee at the last meeting. Anyway, so let's call the vote, please.
On the revised Oakland Council committees moved by Councilmember Brown, seconded by Councilmember Fife. Councilmember Brown.
Aye.
Councilmember Fife.
Aye.
Councilmember Houston.
Aye.
Councilmember Kaplan.
Aye.
Councilmember Ramachandran. Councilmember Unger.
Yes.
Council Pro Tem Gallo.
I am voting Ramachandran's motion.
To be clear, I'm not going to be able to make 3 of the committees that I'm placed on. So if there would be I'd like to make a
Am I
motion for
voting on
reconsideration.
Rebecca's motion? No, I'm going to vote no.
The motion passes with a vote of 5 ayes, 2 noes.
I'd like to make a motion for reconsideration, if we can do that at this stage, predominantly so that we can make quorum and I don't have 6 committees when others have 3.
Is there one you'd like me to take from you?
It's, there's a couple of changes. But if this is going to be an issue, I would request that we bring this back at the next meeting or after a recess.
Through the chair, if I could,
This is,
we don't have any committees assigned, and we cannot move forward with creating the agendas for the meetings next week because we can't get the Rule 28s approved for the items that came up during the council winter recess, and we need these committees done today if you would like to have meetings next Tuesday.
may I make a suggestion? If I may, first of all, I would note that 2 of the committees are Education Partnership and City Port Liaison, which meet rarely, and for which we will not schedule any meetings until we have an opportunity to further discuss with everybody. And I would also note that the council can use the committees that have just, in fact, been adopted for the first couple of weeks, and if there is an issue, we have the right under our rules to bring it back for a new resolution. And we can certainly schedule the Education Partnership and City Port Liaison Committee meetings based on the feedback of the availability of the members, as those are not regularly scheduled committee meetings.
Council President, I have one additional comment. I believe that you were taken off of both Finance and Management and CED through this new list, and as interim council president, those are 2 of the most critical committees that it seems that you should be on, ideally both of them, but at the very least one.
We go to the next item.
So I made a motion to reconsider.
Through the chair to Councilmember Ramachandran, the motion to reconsider must be made by a council member that voted on the prevailing side of the motion. So of that last motion, a council member that voted aye would have to make the motion to reconsider. It's per your council rules.
Would any council member be open to the motion? Because I will be unavailable for 2 of the 6 committees that I'm on, that I was placed on without my consultation.
I'll second that.
There has not been a motion to reconsider made by a council member that voted on the prevailing side of that last motion.
Going back to the regular order of the agenda, starting with item 5, a resolution authorizing and directing the city attorney to compromise and settle the case of Olander Coleman and Nestor Matos for the
Reschedule
Northern
committees.
District of
You're
California
specifically trying to
case.
do something where council members aren't going to make quorum. Council President, may I ask you to request any of the members who voted for this to reconsider, because we will not have quorum for 2 of these committees. It is patently unfair to put forward a suggestion without consulting several of the returning members. There's 2 of us that weren't consulted on this new proposal. If this is passed, which as of now it is, we will not make quorum for several of the meetings. It is unfair that you as council president, you as the longest serving member of this body, don't get any of your choices for committee, and I, all of a sudden, am thrown 6, which I do not have the capacity for to serve in my role as District 4 representative and to bring my full self forward on all of these committees. So I humbly request you to ask this body to ask any of the 5 council members to open the motion for reconsideration. I am trying to be efficient here. This is not about, I don't care who's on what committees. I know that I cannot serve on 6 committees and bring my full self forward.
Is there any members? Yes, yes, sir.
I got a question. What committee can't you be on? Which one?
I can't be on 2 of them. I'm open to taking a recess and discussing this, but I can't be on 2 of these committees.
Which 2?
Which 2? Through the chair. Which 2 through the chair? I'm asking you.
If the vote is
Janani, I'm asking you.
if the vote's being reconsidered, I cannot be on 2 of 3, public safety, ed partnerships, and city port, specifically public safety. And Council President Guile has to be on finance and management or CED. Those are 2 requests that if we can change right here now through a motion to reconsider, I'm open to.
I can take ed partnership and or city port liaison from you if you can't.
And that's what I was
It's
going to
public safety that's the time constraint because the others haven't been scheduled.
through the chair. If Zach takes one, I'll take one.
You're already on.
Council
You're
President.
already on them. May I suggest that we go ahead with the agenda? The item has passed, and we can bring back, it doesn't require a motion to reconsider to bring new committees to a future meeting of this body. So now we can have committees, we can get started, we can do the rest of our agenda.
I believe that there's 2 proposals to switch 2 of the committees to me, so I'm open to that. If Councilmember Unger and Councilmember Houston want to take 2 of my 6 committees, I'm open to that. But it would be great moving forward because Tuesday is our first committee meetings, and I don't want to miss the first of my committees.
The city clerk?
But Houston has offered to join a committee that he's already on, so we don't have a proposed solution right now. Let's move on.
I'm happy to take both of
Through
them.
the chair. Through the chair.
Yes, go
Through the
ahead.
chair. Since I'm on one of them and Unger's willing to take both of them, let Unger take both of them.
City port and ed partnership.
No, public safety and ed partnership. That's the timing I can't.
What are you saying?
No, I was saying I would take ed partnership and port liaison.
The time constraint of mine is public safety. Again, I offered to recess. Come back to this if we want to do a 5-minute recess to discuss this.
Through the chair, if I could, since we're here and we actually would like to make the agendas. The motion is done. The vote is complete unless you do a motion to reconsider. Like the city attorney said, there is no way to change it. To do the motion to reconsider, it has to come from the prevailing side. So if they have not done that, we need to move on because we don't want to be here all night making the agendas for the committees that we cannot move forward with because you guys have not completed your business. I don't mean to be
Thank you.
disrespectful, but I want us to focus on the business so we can move forward. If you guys want to bring something in the future, as somebody already said earlier, when Councilmember Jenkins comes back to his seat and when we have a new District 2 representative, you will be doing the committees over. I apologize if I'm being disrespectful, but I don't want my staff held up because we cannot move forward with these agendas until you guys complete this business.
Respectfully to the city clerk, can Councilmember Houston's offer to change committees be taken as a motion to reconsider? Or can he rephrase it so that it could open the motion
I'm
to
sorry,
reconsider?
the offer was to join a committee he's already on. So I will commit to work together to bring back the ed partnership and city port liaison committees before they are scheduled, as they do not have scheduled times at this time.
Public safety does, and that happens on Tuesday, and you will not have 1 member.
Okay, can we continue through our agenda?
Yeah. Yes.
To believe there was consensus. Obviously, we have, is this what you submitted?
Prepared it at the discussion with the other colleagues.
Who submitted this?
I submitted that for the clerk to put to the
Why
public.
did Kaplan take it upon herself?
It's welcome to the neighborhood.
We need order.
Let's move forward.
Part of the order is I have a right to be adequately prepared to speak when I.
6 committees for 1 council member, that you are all trying to make 1 council member here not be able to show up fully to the job. That is patently unfair, and I will make that clear for the record.
Yeah, let's move the agenda along. We can come back and try to work this out within the council members. So, Madam Clerk, can you please take us to the next item? That's, Do you need the motion to reconsider? Okay, okay. Councilmember Ramachandran, are you asking for a motion to reconsider?
I am asking for a motion to reconsider. I ask any of the 5 council members who voted for this to make that motion to reconsider so we can have peace and move forward and be on have one council member on 6 committees that they have already stated they can't attend.
So I will second your motion. Take a vote. If the vote is no, we move on.
Again, through the chair to the body, the motion to reconsider must be made by one of the 5 council members that voted on the prevailing side. So one of the council members that voted aye on that motion, they must make the motion to reconsider. And the second on that motion can be from any of the members.
I'll make the motion to reconsider.
I also wanted to state for the record that I'm on 6 committees.
There was a motion and a second to reconsider by Ken Houston and Carol Fife.
On the motion to reconsider, moved by Councilmember Houston, seconded by Councilmember Brown. Councilmember Houston.
Aye.
I'm sorry. Councilmember Brown. No, we have to take a vote.
Aye.
Councilmember Fife.
No.
Councilmember Houston.
Aye.
Councilmember Kaplan.
Aye.
Councilmember Ramachandran.
Aye.
Councilmember Unger.
No.
Council President Gallo.
Aye.
Motion passes with a vote of 5 ayes, 2 noes.
Okay, I would like to make a new motion to swap out on public safety, removing Ramachandran, adding Brown. On Ed Partnership, removing Ramachandran, adding Unger. On City Port Liaison Committee, removing Ramachandran, adding Unger. You second?
I'm sorry, through the chair, who were you adding to Education Partnership?
On Education Partnership, replacing Ramachandran with Unger. On City Port Liaison, replacing Ramachandran with Unger. On Public Safety, replacing Ramachandran with Brown.
Can I make a friendly amendment? I make a friendly amendment.
No, Unger is not already on it. Unger is not already on it.
I'd like to propose a friendly amendment to that. I support all of that, and since that puts Councilmember Unger at 6 committees, then I support that, and then replacing Councilmember Unger with Council President Gallo on Finance.
I'm sorry, you said you want to replace Councilmember, say it one more time for me, please.
Councilmember Unger with Council President Gallo.
On Finance?
No.
You said on Finance?
On Finance.
I don't accept the friendly amendment. So the motion is what I handed out, but on Public Safety, Ramachandran's replaced with Brown. On Ed Partnership, Ramachandran is replaced with Unger. On City Port Liaison, Ramachandran's replaced with Unger. And I believe, Unger, were you seconding?
Second.
Okay.
On the new motion read by Councilmember Kaplan, second by Councilmember Unger, Councilmember Brown.
Aye.
Councilmember Fife.
Aye.
Councilmember Houston.
Aye.
Councilmember Kaplan.
Aye.
Councilmember Ramachandran.
No.
Councilmember Unger.
Aye.
Councilmember Gallo.
We need to move on. Aye.
Motion passes with a vote of 5 ayes, 2 no. 1 no, Ramachandran, 6 ayes. Going back to item 5, going back to the regular order of your agenda.
Success.
Oh, I'm sorry, just those of you who are new chairs of committees, through the chair. To those of you who are new chairs of committees, you will be receiving an email requesting your approval for Rule 28. It is very important that you approve it timely, so if you can pull out your devices during this meeting and do so we can move forward with publishing your agendas. Thank you very much. Going to item 5, adopt a resolution authorizing and directing the city attorney to settle the case of Oleander Coleman and Nestor versus City of Oakland for the Northern District of California, case number 323CV6484, City Attorney File 35477, for the sum of $175,000 and no cents. And there is one speaker on this item. Is there a report?
Is there a report on that? I'm going to give the report.
Through the chair to the body, these resolutions authorizing settlement agreements came out of closed session late last year and were continued from the December 17th council meeting and placed on this agenda.
Any questions from the council members? We need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Following the speaker, Ms. Asada Olabala.
Usually what the city attorney does is read exactly what the circumstances of the case was. And I don't know if y'all know doing that, but the circumstances are this. 2 young men were run into by a police bearcat and going the wrong way. And after the response to the police was that they pulled a gun on them, they detained them without reasonable suspicion. They maintained injuries because of the accident. The car was damaged. And between the 2 of them, you're awarding $175,000. And from the names, they look like 2 black men. So that's like $80-something thousand each. For this kind of racial profiling, I don't know why whoever was represented accepted this, but this is not enough. Not enough. When you stop someone and you hit their car, you pull a gun on them and you detain them and you have injuries and your car is damaged and you're going to get this little bit of money. Between the 2 of them, $175,000. But y'all sat in the room and said, I wonder who said, no, this is not enough. Or y'all just said, okay, we're going to prove this. As usual, I can tell by these names, these are black men.
Thank you. Anyone else? Go ahead and take the...
Council President, I have a question to the city attorneys. If we were not present for this closed session, do we have to abstain?
This is a resolution authorizing the settlement, so you're not required to abstain if you weren't present at the closed session.
Thank you.
Okay, call the vote, please.
On item 5, moved by Councilmember Kaplan, seconded by Councilmember Fife, to approve the staff recommendations. Councilmember Brown.
Aye.
Councilmember Fife.
Aye.
Councilmember Houston.
Aye.
Councilmember Kaplan.
Aye.
Councilmember Ramachandran.
Abstain as I wasn't present for the closed session.
Councilmember Unger.
Aye.
Council President Gallo.
Aye.
Motion passes with a vote of 6 ayes, 1 abstention, Ramachandran. Going to item 6, a resolution authorizing and directing the city attorney to settle the case of Danielle Valayo, an individual versus the city of Oakland, public entity, Buck Wild Brewing, a business entity, Action Jackson LLC, a business entity, Alameda County Superior Court case number 23CV037540, City Attorney's File number 36177, in the amount of $125,000.00. You have one speaker on this item also.
Members of the council, any questions? Motion or second? If not, let me hear from the public.
Ms. Asada Olabala.
I don't understand how you can have a pothole on the sidewalk, because that's what the document says, that this young lady tripped and fell on a pothole on the sidewalk, and the city is paying $125,000, and the brewery is paying $300,000. According to your mandates, every independent property owner is responsible for the sidewalk if it's on their property. So if this accident happened on the property of the brew, why are we a part of the settlement, is the question. And then how did you, when y'all sat in the back room, did anybody ask, how do you trip and fall in a pothole on the sidewalk? Are we paying $125,000 that we don't have responsibility for? That's my question. Because we don't have money to give out freely. And that is the mandate of the city. Every property owner is responsible for the sidewalk on their premises, for the upkeep and repair of it.
City Attorney, can you please respond to our public speaker? You don't need a response? Okay, then I need a motion in a second.
Second.
I believe that was Fife and Kaplan to approve the staff recommendation, or adopt the staff recommendation, I'm sorry. Councilmember Brown?
Aye.
Councilmember Fife?
Aye.
Councilmember Houston?
Aye.
Councilmember Kaplan?
Aye.
Councilmember Ramachandran?
Abstain as I wasn't present.
Thank you. Councilmember Unger?
Aye.
Pro Tem Gaio?
Aye.
Motion passes with a vote of 6 ayes, 1 abstention, Ramachandran. Going to item number 7, an ordinance submitting to the voters at a special election to be held on April 15, 2025, a proposed ordinance to impose a transaction and use tax to be administered by the California Department of Tax and Fee Administration, requesting consolidation of the election with a special municipal election to be held in the city of Oakland on April 15th, and directing the city clerk to take any and all actions necessary under law to prepare for and conduct the April 15th special election. You have 12 speakers on this item.
Members of the council, any comments and questions? And then we'll hear from the public. Yes.
I got a comment for what we just passed. Can I say something about that? Yeah. She was talking about a pothole on the sidewalk, right? And I know that, but I just said I wanted to say something. Okay, I'll let it go.
Are we able to hear from members of the public first? Can we hear from members of the public first?
As I call your name, please approach the podium in any order. Please state your name for the record before beginning. If you submitted a card via Zoom, please raise your hand so I can easily identify you. Julian Ware, Nick Perino, Seth Oyer, Ali Obad, Mr. Hazard, Mr. Boatwright, Ms. Asada Olabala, Linda George, Antoinette Blue, Mr. Pete, Melvin Mackey, Demetrius Williams.
You got outside direction. All right, good afternoon. My name is Julian Ware. I've been working for the city for about 22 years in the IT department, and I'm a proud member of Local 21. The City of Oakland's $93 million operating deficit has resulted in the previous council making tough choices to balance a budget. With devastating cuts to essential public service such as IT systems or firefighting services, we're not going to be prepared for the next emergency, whether that's on the IT side or experiencing a fire worse than the Keller fire that we just had a couple months ago. I've worked with the folks in the fire department since IT helps functions throughout all of the city, and I know that seconds, not minutes, can make all the difference in saving a life in a medical emergency. The tragic LA fire is at the forefront of my mind. We cannot allow Oaklanders to be harmed when we have slashed public services. It is a fact. We are vulnerable given we have browned out fire stations. It is unconscionable given that we just experienced a Keller fire. Our fire response team is already behind the starting line. This sales tax would bring in an estimated $20 million or more. Updating the sales tax is in line with neighboring cities such as San Leandro, Union City, Alameda, and Hayward. With the looming budget deficit in the next cycle, we cannot have any further cuts to our understaffed city. It's imperative we support opportunities to bring in revenue so that the community doesn't suffer. I strongly urge the council to pass the sales tax. Thank you.
Good evening. This is Seth Ollier, President, Oakland Firefighters, Local 55, and I'm rising in support of this sales tax to bring much-needed revenue into the city. $20 million goes a long way to reopening closed firehouses. My members can't do their job effectively when they're already behind the 8 ball, and they're minutes, if not tens of minutes, behind a fire that's already gotten a head start. My brother Julian brought this up. The fires right now that are happening down in LA are a perfect example of what happens when resources are stretched thin and the weather has a head start. And we all know that that's happened a number of times here in Oakland, most recently in October with the Keller fire. And luckily we had the resources of engines 25 and 28 that were on the initial response, which made all the difference between tragedy and success on that fire. So I strongly encourage a unanimous yes vote from all the members of the council. I mean, right now there are 2 closed firehouses, one in off of Joaquin Miller and one off of Grass Valley. Those communities deserve to be serviced in a timely fashion by the fire department. So I strongly urge a unanimous yes vote on this. And then a point of clarification, or actually a point as well, that not all the new council members have their email addresses on the city website. I've got a number of people who have reached out and they want to contact some of the council members to express their displeasure with the closed firehouses, and email and phone numbers are not updated for the current council. Thank you, and please vote yes.
Good afternoon, City Council members, and I wanted to welcome and congratulate the new City Council members on their new seat. My name is Ali Obad. I am a business owner. I have been a business owner for the past 40 years. I might not look like it. I'm not that old. But I think as a business owner, I have a supermarket, and when I know there's problems with my numbers, I don't go and turn around and just raise the prices on the customers. I go and check where's the problems that's causing me not having the fund and the money in my accounts, and I start from cutting down on my expense. And I think by going and raising the taxes, we can get $100 million a year, but if there's a problem with the city administration, if there's problems there, that $100 million still would not solve the problems. We can talk about the $20 million, which go along the way, and then the following year, with another 2-3 years, we raise another tax because we have budget problems. So I think the city council members should take a look at the city administrator. Are they capable of working these numbers for the city of Oakland or not? Are they, are they willing to take 10-15% from their payroll instead of cutting some of these city employees' jobs? I mean, if the city administrator is making over $300,000 a year and they're not getting the job done, I mean, there's a problem. Maybe the city is too big for them. Maybe the city council have to look into all these effects, not just to go ahead and just raise their hand and just vote and put this on the ballot. Because I promise you guys, we will be fighting to not pass this sales tax. We will get every single business owner not to pay the the tax for the city. Comes March, the city will be in a big deficit, and I promise you guys, we will get all the business owners to go out there and strike and put a business strike on the outside of the city hall. This is not going to be helping keep raising taxes, and if we have a problem with the city administrator, they're not doing the.
Good afternoon. My name is Antoinette Blue, and welcome to the new council members that were just sworn in. I have been with the City of Oakland for 10 years next month, and I'm currently a 911 dispatcher with the Oakland Police Department. I'm also the president for SEIU Local 1021. The work our members do is extremely important, and the Oakland residents depend on them to keep vital services going, which is why I'm here today. I'm urging you guys all to support placing this half-cent tax on the ballot. By doing this, you're supporting public safety, preventing layoffs, and future closures of fire stations, and most importantly, you are supporting a stable funding source that can assist in balancing the budget. Considering what's happening in LA, and I don't want to beat a dead horse, we are in a position to get ahead of a potential crisis. We have an opportunity to protect Oakland from a full-blown disaster as what is occurring in Southern California right now. And again, by supporting this half-cent tax, you're going to be doing just that. Thank you.
Good afternoon, council members. Welcome to the new ones as well. My name is Nick Perino with SEIU 1021. Also want to voice my support for the sales tax measure. It's kind of the only option you have to raise revenue quickly as we are entering another budget cycle, and we will need this revenue to patch a hole that is growing and is the only way we can avoid cutting services even further. So for that reason, I urge you to vote yes and put this on the ballot of the special election. Thank you.
Good evening, council members. We were hoping to find assistance with an issue facing the community. Jeffries Inner Circle agreed to drop the appeal of the entitlement of 1431 Franklin in a deal with the City of Oakland. We were promised the below items via a title with the City of Oakland. We were promised $2.5 million for Jeffries Inner Circle's continuance and overhead costs. We were promised assistance in the form of advocating for a loan for 410 14th Street building through the City of Oakland partners and affiliates to offset the balloon payment of $4.4 million due on 12/1/24. The nonprofit Oak Bright was recognized as the lead nonprofit for the Black Arts Movement and Business District by the City Council, and was to receive $9 million for the security, beautification, edification, preservation, and regranting purpose for businesses, artists, and residents of the district. To date, we have received $50,000 in emergency mortgage funds, which came 4 months after the emergency request date in early 2024. There has been zero update on the remaining line items in the title and resolution. Our title was added to the agenda by the City Council in February 2024 in good faith for us to drop the appeal. Once we dropped the appeal, the title was then immediately removed by council members as they requested more information regarding land use from the city attorney and administrator. Since the title removal,
Through the chair, can the member of the public say that again? Thank you.
Thank you, Demetrius. Once we dropped the appeal, the title was then immediately removed by council member as they requested more information. Since the title removal in February 2024, we have not had an update regarding the reason for the land use request as well as the outcome of said request. Our title to date has been removed from the City Council agenda 4 times, and it was noted on record as no new date scheduled to discuss this line item. We are requesting your assistance with the expedition of this process, as we have a very serious deadline of 2/28/25 regarding the mortgage that we are in danger of overshooting. Thank you so much for the extended time and for the council's attention.
Mr. President, I think there's an exceptional amount of confusion about what this tax is. I was under the impression it was a sales tax. It is not a sales tax. It's called a transaction use tax. That tax is put in place when you make a purchase outside of the state of California. Most of these taxes are placed on Amazon purchases. The tax is already in place. You're calling for an increase in the existing tax. The tax is run by implemented by the state of California, okay? So as you heard, and as I have come before you, I thought this was a sales tax. It is to the degree that it's a certain type of tax when you don't buy an item in the state of California, mostly Amazon. It could be something other than Amazon, because I was telling somebody, my son bought a dog from a breeder in Colorado, went there and bought it and brought it back here, but he didn't pay any transaction tax. So some people get away with not paying it. It's not foolproof. The other thing is, you don't have a tax collector, you fired the lady. I would not be voting for it, I understand it, mostly because you haven't demonstrated the ability to run this city financially, okay? The other thing is, we do not have the opportunity to look at other sources of making money. 15 states have city income tax, 15 states, where you can tax the income of a person who doesn't live in your city but works in your city, and the employer can take out a tax for not living in the city. It's called a local income tax.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Asada.
David Boatwright, District 4. I am not in favor of closing any fire stations. There's too high a risk here. The problem is this tax is not going to solve that problem. I think the city, before they apply new taxes, needs to look in more detail at the expenses of this city and cut those costs, not close down fire departments. Thank you.
Okay, one more speaker? Okay, thank you.
So before you start my time, Mr. President, I need some clarification. And I would like the city attorney to comment on it. Don't start my time, because I want clarification. What is this? What is the proposed measure? Through the city attorney.
Go ahead.
What's on the agenda is a proposed ordinance to submit a transactions and use tax to the voters at the April 15th special election. A transactions and use tax is similar to the state's sales and use tax.
So, this is not a sales tax. This is a use tax. You have on the report subject, general sales tax. I've given you each one of these. You got subject, general tax ordinance, okay? Then on that agenda report, the transaction and use tax measure. Then you go down and said the City of Oakland proposes a half-cent transaction and use tax increase. Then it goes down in background legislation, led drastic reduction across critical city departments. The proposed sales tax increase. Now, this is your document. Then on here, you all have this. Look at it. I got it highlighted for you. And you identify these various entities, cities. Those are sales tax. That's not use tax. The city attorney is misleading you. They're talking out of both sides of their mouth. Then it says transaction use tax, the current sales tax rate across Alameda County. Then it goes down and says the half-cent sales tax would generate 20+ million. That's a lie. It's not a sales tax. You can't even quantify what the amount of dollars under the use tax. AB 1155 by Assembly Member Calderon and Skinner in 2010, 2011, 2012. It went on to speak about it needs clarification. The half-cent sales tax. But
thank you for your
also
comments, Mr. Hazard. Your time has expired. Through the chair, I listen to my colleagues, not the public. Thank you.
You don't tell nobody.
To K-Top, please turn on the public's mic.
And then, on top of everything, engaged in this proposal, you have something that says, enjoining collection forbidden, no injunction or writ of mandate or other legal equitable process shall issue any suit, action, or proceeding in any court against the city, state. You can't have that in there. And here's why. It's against the Constitution and generally completely barring a member of the public from seeking judicial review of a tax measure would raise serious constitutional concerns. Due process right, the 14th Amendment protects individuals' rights to due process, access to courts. There's
Thank you for your comments,
right
Mr. Hazard.
Access to courts to redress.
Thank you, Mr. Hassard. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
If you signed up for this item and still wish to speak, please approach the podium. Linda George. Okay, all names have been.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Councilmember Houston.
My mic. It's a couple of things I like to say. Gene, you got to give some respect, man. Don't tell nobody nothing. You ask. Okay, I just said it. I said it. No, you don't say that to her like that. You don't I'm gonna change some order in this court. Watch me, man. Watch me. Okay, so the next thing,
Ca-
you don't
Ca-
disrespect
Councilman
somebody in my chamber.
Houston, Ken, stay focused here.
So the next thing, I got 10 minutes to as rules. What is it? The charter says I got 10 minutes. I'd like to have Mr. Pete. Mr. Pete, can you come up through the chair? I had a question for Mr. Pete. Can you come up, Mr. Pete, please? He had mentioned something. You had mentioned something. Come on up, Mr. Pete. You had said something. Who did you give that document to? Did you give that to
This document has been circulated to every past city council person, president, city attorney. We have been, the downtown specific plan has specifically designed us completely out of participation in terms of construction, high rises. We don't even exist on the Richter scale in the city. And so when we put in our request, for a black arts district, to get a development analogous to everybody else's, we run and hide for the tall grass and won't allow for it. And so that's the outrage, because we'll be designed out of the city.
Okay, so can you resubmit that to
Oh,
us?
I'll resubmit it again.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Pete.
Okay. Anyone else from the council? Comments, questions? We need a motion and a second to move it forward. Yes, Councilmember Brown.
Okay, so hopefully you can hear me okay. First off, thank you so much to the members of the public for showing up and sharing your insights on the transaction and use tax that is being proposed. I guess I was hopeful for potentially Councilmember Kaplan to kind of share some insights as one of the council members who kind of recommended this, given that Bass, Jenkins, and Reed are not present. So I was just kind of hoping for that. And I think just kind of in my overall research on this item, a handful of neighboring cities are already at that 10.75% sales tax. And so just the half cent, that's what would be placed on the ballot, and Oaklanders would be able to decide. And so that's whose hands this matter is really in. Of course, ours in this moment, but I did want some more insight from Councilmember Kaplan.
Yes, Councilmember Kaplan.
Thank you so very much. And also, I believe staff of Mayor Jenkins is in the room if you want to give him the invitation, as I want to respect the fact that then Councilmember Kevin Jenkins was the first initiator of it, and I'm absolutely happy to be a co-author and talk about it, but he did start us off, so as he is now mayor, I'll ask if he wants to join us as well. But let me start by laying out the matter with this transaction and use tax. One, in terms of the question that's been raised to members of the public about what happens with internet sales and sales from out of town. That matter actually is something that a whole coalition of us worked on several years ago, and then Senator Lonnie Hancock brought a state law to help ensure that online sales would also collect and remit the sales tax. And so those would also be covered. That was one of the questions that came up. But fundamentally, what was underlying the incentive for bringing this item forward was twofold: to align Oakland's situation with that of the many surrounding cities that have already adopted the same rate that Oakland is proposed to adopt here. So this would align Oakland with the surrounding communities and create a common rate amongst many of our neighbors. And also, really importantly and fundamentally, and as many of the public speakers noted, to ensure that we are providing the essential public resources that our community needs. This is about making sure that the potholes are filled. This is about making sure that the fire stations are staffed. This is about making sure that the personnel who solve crimes and maintain our parks and do all the vital and essential work of the public will have the resources to do that work so that our public can get the support that it needs. And so those were two of the major factors underlying this, both to align Oakland with surrounding cities and to ensure that the revenue is being collected that is needed to fund the essential public services. And I would respectfully turn it over to the attorney if they want to explain the two different words.
Through the chair to Councilmember Kaplan. In this, the local taxes are called a transaction and use tax. The transaction tax is on the retail sale of goods in the city, and that's similar to what the state calls a sales tax. And then the use tax is, as has been mentioned, on other purchases outside of the state.
So is any other?
Thank
you.
You
Finished, Councilmember Kaplan?
I'm happy to answer questions, but I see my colleagues have their hands up, so I'll leave my comments there at this time.
Councilmember, yes.
Thank you. So Los Angeles is on fire right now. There are entire business districts that existed yesterday that don't exist today. And why did this happen? Well, a big part of it is that the city of Los Angeles closed dozens of fire engines over the last 10 years due to budget cuts. You know, we have a simple math problem here, the way I see it, is that do we have the money to pay for the things that our citizens deserve, like fire protection? And the answer right now is no, and we need to fix that. Some of that is making cuts, some of that is getting leaner, some of that is getting more efficient, and we need to do that work, but some of it is raising revenue. And look, I understand the reticence to enact a sales tax. I understand the concerns of our businesses, but I can't think of anything more damaging to a business than burning to a ground. When I talk to small business owners, what they tell me is that their number one concern is lack of policing, lack of safety, blight, and other concerns like that. And that's our math problem right there. If we don't have the resources to keep our streets clean, if we don't have the resources to provide fire protection and police protection, we're not going to be able to run successful businesses in this city. And this sales tax is going to generate upwards of $20 million a year, and that's money that we can spend on keeping our fire stations open. That's money that we can...
Chair Gaio, I cannot hear my colleague.
Come on, let him finish. Let him, hold on. Go ahead, keep going. Go ahead, Councilmember Unger. Go ahead.
You need to stop that.
Ken Houston, please sit down and let him finish. Yes, Councilmember Unger, go ahead. Please, Zach. Go
so, this money that will be generated is money we can spend on hopefully keeping us from becoming Los Angeles. Not having this money in our city is profoundly regressive. Not having the money to afford police services in neighborhoods that are impacted by gun violence is regressive. Not having a fire department to provide emergency medical services to people who use 911 as their primary medical care is regressive. Not having libraries, Head Starts, Meals on Wheels is regressive. And at the end of the day, we're not voting on this right now. We are voting to send this to the voters. And I trust the voters in their wisdom to make this decision. It's a tough choice. And there are going to be competing ideas, and that's fine. I trust the voters of this city to make that decision. Let's send it to them and respect whatever outcome occurs.
Thank you. I see our finance, who's coming up? You want to respond to that? Let me hear from our finance office. Go ahead, brother.
Sure, no problem. I wanted to make sure that I've heard a lot of conversation. I wanted to be really clear about the legal parameters under which you're operating, what you're acting on, what not. Under the California Constitution, the state of California imposes a sales and use tax. When you file a sales tax for a component of that, it is remitted to the state of California. Some of that actually comes back to us in the Bradley-Burns tax. If you bring an item into the state of California from outside of it, you pay use tax on it. Sales and use tax at the state level. The California Constitution defines what local governments do as a transactions and use tax. They are different names for functionally the same item, and we colloquially use them interchangeably. The state one is technically a sales and use tax. Anything local, your Measure BB, is a transaction use tax. Your local jurisdictions that are nearby are transaction use tax. We must, if we are to do this parameter, which allows the Board of Equalization, it's now the California Department of Revenue and Taxation, we changed that, recent law change, to collect this on our behalf, have to follow the template they give us. And this body, I know the city attorney will say this to you as well, does not actually have leeway in most of the parameters around it, including those legal parameters that were mentioned earlier, because that is what the state requires in order for us to collect it through the California Department of Tax and Revenue and Tax, which is your most effective mechanism of collecting it. What you are doing is the way a local transaction use tax, which we all collectively, colloquially call a sales tax, and we refer to as our collective sales tax rate, is implemented. It is the same thing every other local jurisdiction and the county does already in Oakland with this additional amount.
Thank you. Is there a motion and a second?
Second.
So moved.
Is there a second?
A second.
It's been moved and seconded. Please call the vote.
Through the chair, this was moved by Councilmember Kaplan. Thank you. Seconded by Councilmember Fife to approve this item for final passage. On roll, Councilmembers Brown.
Aye.
Fife.
Aye.
Houston.
Aye.
Kaplan.
Aye.
Ramachandran.
Aye.
Unger.
Aye.
And Chair Gallo.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion passes with a vote of 7 ayes. Moving to our next item, our last item, item S8, adopt a resolution appointing Councilmember Blank and Councilmember Blank to the Oakland Alameda County Coliseum Authority Board of Commissioners.
Can you read off the? Yes, I mean, the clerk had it, the recommendation that we had put forth. Okay, under S8, adopt a resolution appointed Councilmember Houston and Councilmember Gallo for the Oakland County Coliseum Authority Board of Commissioners. And she has the copies of it. Okay. Are there any members of the council, any questions, comments, changes? Up to you.
I do. I was expecting Rebecca to be on that since she was on it before, and I'm not too concerned about seats and all that. I just want them to be done right in the best interest of the city, and I wanted to explain something to the public. The rules and the reason why the committees was jumping all around and it seemed like we was unorganized. We cannot talk to each other. What is that called, Carol? The Brown Act. It's called the Brown Act, right? So it seemed like it was unorganized, but it wasn't because you can only talk to 3 people. So we actually had to negotiate that over in public, right? So if you thought it looked like it was unorganized and we didn't know what we were doing, that's not the case. We have to follow certain rules. So I just wanted to explain that. And on committees, I just want the committees to be ran right. I want them to be people to show up. I want to have the quorum. And
Mr. Houston, we're on this item. Are you voting for it or against it?
I want to say what I want to say.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about other issues. I mean, let's stay focused on this item before.
And that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about this is the JPA, right?
Oh, okay, so
yeah.
Go ahead.
That's what I'm talking about. So if I would rather pull myself off and let Rebecca be on there, you and Rebecca, because I think Rebecca wanted to be on that.
Yeah, well, you know, she's been on it for a long time. The reason I'm on it is because Kevin Jenkins is going to be here in 4 months and he's taking my place. Okay, and you requested because Kevin is in District 6 where the Coliseum is, and you're on 7 that represents that area. That's why you're on both on it, and as soon as Kevin returns, he's going to step in.
Chair, would you be
Kevin,
would you be willing to entertain a motion to have Councilmember Houston and Councilmember Kaplan?
I want Kevin to say something.
You know, it's up to you guys.
Yeah,
Whatever you want to do.
So Through the chair. So I think it's really important to have Councilmember Kaplan on this committee as we're winding down the Coliseum and defeasing the bonds. There are some really complex things that are going on at the Coliseum, and we need to, one, get the Coliseum sale, two, defease the bonds. She served as president for some time, and this is really complex issues. So I would request that she be on there, and Ken, I thank you for saying that you will step off, and Gaio, I think you'll, President, I think you'll be great on there.
Thank you.
You see, that's the kind of community, that's what I like.
And it's your district. Okay, fine, let's take a vote.
Okay.
Put Rebecca on and put yourself on, and let's move. I want to move, man.
So
I'm talking.
I take a motion to move this agenda.
That's it.
This item.
I'll second that.
Vote, please. It'll be Ken Houston and Rebecca Kaplan once more.
Do we want
on
speakers?
the
Do we have
JPA.
speakers?
It's called cooperation.
This item was moved by Councilmember Houston, seconded by Councilmember Fife, to appoint Councilmembers Kaplan and Houston to the JPA. The Oakland Alameda Coliseum Authority Board of Commissioners, on roll, Councilmembers Brown.
Aye.
Fife. Aye. Houston.
Aye.
Kaplan.
Aye.
Ramachandran.
Aye.
Unger.
Aye.
Gaio.
Aye.
Motion passes. Open forum. Gene Hazard. Asada Olabale. Ali Obad. Jeffrey Pete.
This action, Kaplan's only going to be there till April. Okay? This was inappropriate. It's short-lived. Understand the rules and understand the Brown Act and look at what the Brown Act says. The public could address any manner they want to. You don't have to say you talk low or talk high. And if it's going to the procedures, you're dealing with the procedures. And the procedures that you're addressing is flawed, okay? This action is flawed because I understand, Mr. Unger, about their dire need. But you got to do it the right way. You're not going to collect no $20 million from a use tax. Plus, you're going to have to pay a fee to the state to collect it. Then it comes back. You don't understand the process. I'm fully aware of the process. So when you're talking yes, we need money. And that proposal only came up since December 12th because these other avenues that you have been looking at, money ain't coming. Money is not coming. So you're fooling the public. Stop lying to the public. Stop giving them a false hope. Start cutting where it needs to be cut. I don't want to see the fire stations closed. So, when you talk all this, we need public safety, we need this, we need it all. But where are you going to get the finances from? Not some lip service for something that ain't going to happen. AB 1155 has no enforcement. The use tax has no enforcement online. Look it up. You've been lying and misleading to the public.
Mr. Houston, you have a right to make a demand for order in this chamber.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a right to not have to obey anything.
Right.
But I'm going to make a suggestion to you. If you want order, this is the only way you're going to get it. You have to have the police come in here and take us out. The security people can't do anything, okay? So whenever you want to go forward with calling the police to come and get us, you can do that to get your order.
Let me say this.
When I'm finished,
No,
okay?
no,
When
I'm
I'm finished. This is my time, and I'll be right back with you.
Okay.
Now, Mr. Unger, the Budget and Finance Advisory Board put out a report related to the fact that the police and fire unions negotiated with the city to have salary increases and pension increases when your contracts had not expired. You see, your greed for more money for your salaries and your pensions has created a burden on this city. So don't come with me about the issue we got to support. You go negotiate with your people to decrease their salaries because they didn't do it the right way. And that came from the Budget Advisory Commission, who knew about what y'all did with the city. I want to apologize to you because Rebecca should have not done what she did without facilitating a conversation with you so y'all could walk into the room with you fully understanding what was going on. That was so disrespectful. But she gets out of her seat and negotiates with the mayor's people rather than getting out her seat and talking to you. So I hope she'll stop that behavior, okay? Because you need to be given a fair chance to implement your leadership. And it didn't happen today. And I want you try to do the best that you can do. And Ms. Ramachandran, girl, you stand your ground. You keep doing that. Okay? It's unfair to have her on 6 committees. She just had a baby. And nobody's recognizing. Once a council member says this is not appropriate for me, everybody should say, well, let's see what else we can work out.
Thank you for your
I'm
comments.
sorry for the disrespect, sir.
Hello again, City Council members. Mr. Unger, I just wanted to emphasize that back in 2021, there was a $675,000 that was awarded to an organization called Saba Grocers Initiative. 2 years later, the city auditor found that there was so much misuse, mismanaged on the funding of the $675,000. There's still $2.5 million that the city council awarded this organization of $2.5 million, which they are still looking to get that $2.5 million. If it wasn't for the city auditor report and the city auditor finding, Mr. Houston, Ms. Fife, so everybody can understand, if it wasn't for the city auditor, the city of Oakland, the city council was ready to award this organization that's already misused, mismanaged, gave money to city employees. So I think that's where the city budget problem is. It's not by raising taxes. You can raise 20, 30, 40 million dollars. That still will not solve the problems. We have the city port. We have everything that other cities don't have, but we have the mismanagement. And $2.5 million that's still sitting in the tunnel waiting to be passed to the same organization that already misused the funding of $675,000 taxpayers' money. And this is another taxpayers' money from the sugar tax. $2.5 million. The city council have voted to give it to them. So I think there's something that the city council should sit together, look into details, not just to go over the numbers or whatever the previous city council members did or said or they wanted. You guys have to go back and look at all these details. This organization worked on some of the city council members' campaigns. So there was favorism. So I think there's the whatever you want to call it, but the favorism for this organization to get $2.5 million, it has to stop. Thank you.
Jeffrey Pete, I believe, has left the chamber. All names have been called.
So with that, thanks to everyone. The meeting's adjourned. Thank you.
Noting we do have a council meeting on Monday at 9:30 a.m. orientation as well.
It's why we talk about the amazing cultural institutions that are in Oakland, whether it's the museum or the symphony or the zoo. These things are icons in our community and are associated with our identity. So how can Roots and Soul become that in a way that is collaborative and allows for everyone to rise with the momentum?
The first team that launched was the Oakland Roots.